Alright, in this video, I can now start posting back on my first channel here. So I'll be doing both. You can check out my backup channel, YouTube username JD Morin. That's JD, the two letters, and then Morin, in case you don't know how to spell that. And yeah, I only got the one flag, so I'll be good. If I get another one, I won't get completely taken off. But if I get another flag, you can just go to my backup channel, or you can check me out on BitChute and Rumble. Also on TikTok and what have you. But anyway, the reason for this video. Brian Dellinger, YouTube user, born again barbarian, made another flat earth video that I woke up and I happened to see. It was only 7 minutes, so I was like, I'll check it out. Something about his video being taken down. And I thought it was one of his other videos, and I was like, why would it be taken down? I mean, what's going on there? But no, apparently he made another one that I didn't see, at least not before it was taken down, because of some copyright infringement. And in his video, he talked about how on his website you can go see it. So I'm actually going to be checking that out. But before I do, I'm going to go over a couple of things that he already brought up. And I just don't know. I don't know. And what I mean is that I don't know if he is just really like ignorant of these things, like he doesn't have a mind for it, like this science stuff. He doesn't seem to be able to think things through. So I don't know if it's just a gift he doesn't have, or if he's being dishonest. I really can't tell. I gotta pray for some discernment on that, because I don't want to accuse him of being slow if he's not, and I don't want to accuse him of being a liar if he's not, right? But it's one or the other. And to start off, it has to actually do with this picture here. He shows a rocket launch, and he admits that it's a GoPro camera. And apparently he doesn't understand how GoPro cameras work. And I think this is just out of ignorance, right? So when he shows the rocket on the Earth before it takes off, he's like, look, it's a flat horizon there. So see, it's not curving the Earth. It's like, oh my God. GoPros, when you look at the horizon, it will be straight, like you see it with your own two eyes, right? But guess what happens if you tilt down or tilt up? The horizon will change. I don't have a GIF here. I don't have a GoPro camera to show you. But if you were to tilt up or tilt down, you'll notice, I guess a good video to watch is there was like, I think a Red Bull Halo jump where they use a GoPro camera, and you'll see at times that the horizon looks flat because it's looking straight at it. But if it starts to tilt up, I think it ends up curving down or curving up, where at the center of it looks like it's relatively flat, and then it'll curve down if you start to tilt up. It might be the opposite, so don't quote me on this. And then when you tilt down, the line will start to curve up. So you'll see that the Earth ends up looking concave sometimes using this GoPro camera. You can even at times make it look almost as if it's a hollow Earth, like you're inside of a circle. I mean, a ball, right? So, yeah, you can't use a GoPro camera to show the curve, because you can stand on this level here, sea level, and tilt the camera and make it look like a curve when it's not really there. You can even tilt it to make it look like it's concave, like the edges are going up. It's curving up on both sides. And I was like, oh, I just hope he just doesn't know this. Because if he's being genuine, trying to say that, oh, look, I proved it, because he was like, case closed, look, The rocket went up. It shows a curve. And it's like, oh my goodness. Has he not looked into this at all? He even said, "Oh, you all say it's a GoPro camera," and it's like, yeah. So look into why people say that. It's a fisheye lens on the camera that distorts the images intentionally. So, oh my, I just was a little taken back by that. I was like, this is stuff that's already been went over years ago. If he knew about these arguments and he actually looked into it, he would know this. But from his level of knowledge about something as simple as the GoPro camera, it shows that he has never taken the time to really look into something such as the flat earth. Because if he did, he would understand how that GoPro camera works, because that's one of the things flat earthers talk about, right? Showing you how they end up getting the curve is using a fisheye lens on a GoPro camera. But what are you going to do? Now, his next evidence, I can't show it because I don't have a picture that I could find, but this is the best I can do. He shows that somebody was using some kind of like Nicoya camera that can zoom like 83 times in, and he said, hey, this proves the Earth is a sphere, because he zoomed in, he sees a cargo ship, and then behind it, lower down, you could see that there's another ship further off that has the cargo. He goes, see, so it's curved. And it's like, oh my goodness, are you serious, Brian? You couldn't see this ship over the curve. You zoomed in 83 times and you could see it. So somehow you could zoom in over a curve, right? And then you try to say, oh, now that you see this ship over here, that's over the curve, this ship was, right? This ship we couldn't see with the naked eye. We had to zoom in 83 times to see it. And now we can see the ship of another ship going down over here. What do you think happens if we zoom in, able to zoom in that far to look at that ship? Do you think it's going to look like this one? Yeah, because we couldn't see this one until we zoomed in. So how do you think that proves a curve? Seriously, Brian. You couldn't see this ship until you zoomed in 83 times, and then you're going to say, oh, look, see? It curves over here because we can only see the cargo of the other cargo ship over here because it's further down. Well, what do you think happens when you zoomed in like you did on this one? You just zoom in the cargo, or all of a sudden does it come into complete view like this one did? Seriously, think about it. Obviously, you're not. You're just being stubborn with this. Foolish. These things shouldn't have to be said. This is stuff you say to a child who doesn't know how to think critically and think logically for themselves to understand, oh, I couldn't see this one until I zoomed in. So if this one was over the curve, then, hey, I could zoom in and see that one just like I did with this one. And I know there's not another ship over here, but I couldn't find one with two ships. Giving the example he gave. You're going to have to check out his video on his website if you actually want to see the evidence he gave, the film he gave. The guy zoomed in 83 times. He sees a ship, and I think it's actually in the front. I'm just doing it over here because there's more space. You see just the cargo. You see how there's cargo on top of this ship, all these boxes? All you can see is the boxes. He's like, see, it's curved. And it's like, yeah, you might not even have been able to see this ship at all. Maybe you just saw the part of the cargo, and then you zoomed in, you could see it. So if you zoom in on this one, what do you think happens? You just zoom in on the cargo? I mean, think, Brian. Come on. It's just that you don't want to believe this. You're cut off to it, so you're not even giving it any kind of time and any kind of thought. You're already dismissing it. And you already know Proverbs. I know you do. You've quoted yourself. Anybody who judges a matter before they look into it, it is a shame and a folly unto them. And yeah, at times I feel embarrassed for you. I really do. Uh, when you tried to say there's four corners on the ball that you had, I did feel embarrassed for you. Like how are you going to try to say there's four corners on that ball you're holding? The North Pole is a corner. I don't know how you figure that. The South Pole is a corner. Don't know how you figure in that. But then you say, oh, East and West are corners. Because if you keep going east, eventually you go west. No, you don't. You keep going west forever. There isn't a West Pole and a South Pole. I mean, East Pole. But yeah, uh, man. And when it comes to the science stuff, this is not his thing. But anyway, showing that rocket going up, he uh, talked about, hey, there's the curve, right? Which is weird because I think it was about, I think he said 56 miles up, something like that. And Neil Tyson deGrasse says that you can't see the curve even from something like 100 miles up. So that's weird that that rocket saw a very distinct curve from 56 miles up. So, you see the inconsistencies with the people who believe the globe, especially when then Neil Tyson deGrasse also says that it's not a sphere shape, it's a pear shape. You know why he says it's a pear shape? Let's actually go over here real quick. Go. Maybe I could show it with the Earth. There we go. Let's look at this. This is a kind of an exaggeration of what Neil Tyson deGrasse said. But you know why they say this? Why he's saying it's kind of pear-shaped? Which makes no sense. If you have a ball and you spin it, it makes sense that, oh, it's going to get fatter at the equator. But then it's going to equally thin out on the North and South Pole. There's no reason why it would bulge at the South Pole and not at the North Pole. That makes no sense. None at all. Right? But why is he saying that nonsense? Because it matches the flat Earth map so that people understand that there's more room on the southern hemisphere, using their terms, than the northern. Because on the flat Earth, you look at the map. Let's look at this. Let's go to flat Earth map. I'm not saying this is the model. Okay, I'm just grabbing something flat real quick to show you as an example. Let's just grab this one. All right, let's shrink it down a little bit. So you see the equator roughly here, right? You see where I'm circling. Roughly there's the equator, right? Roughly. So the north part of this, where the North Pole is, there's not as much space as there is in the south. Look at all this space in the south. Right? You go south of the equator, much more land. And then in north of the equator, smaller. So how do you have to respond to that if you believe in a spherical Earth? Oh, sorry about that. It's a pear shaped. It's not quite a sphere. What's weird is a lot of these people who believe the spherical Earth go, well, look at the sun and the moon and the planets. They're all circles, right? They're all spheres. And then you have someone like Neil Tyson deGrasse. I know this is not what Brian is saying. I'm just making this point here as it came up. But they look at these other objects in the sky and say, see, well, the Earth has to be that same shape. But then Neil Tyson deGrasse says, oh, no, it's actually pear-shaped, even though NASA, with their fake pictures, shows you a sphere, not a pear shape. But you see, he's trying to cover for the fact that people are waking up, realizing that there's a lot more space south of the equator than north of the equator. So he has to make up for that by saying it's pear-shaped. It's kind of shrunk on the northern part and bulged in the southern part. It's total nonsense. But I wouldn't be surprised how many people believe it. But continuing with this, a couple of things he was saying had nothing to actually do with evidence. I'm just going to bring it up because he brought it up. He felt like he needed to say these things. He was saying uh, that he proved it wasn't flat by his video "Shall Not Be Moved," and you figure what he was going to show with the Earth moving using the Bible was that the Earth was spinning and that it was moving around the sun. But he didn't. He basically showed that there's earthquakes and eventually God's going to destroy the earth and remake it. Right? I mean, no flat earther is going to say that the earth doesn't move in the sense of earthquakes or being broken open or it's going to be destroyed. Flat earthers say it's not moving because it doesn't spin and it doesn't fly around the sun. It's the center, like the Bible depicts. What do they call it? Geocentric. And then he was calling the flat earthers a cult and that the flat earthers are a religion. That's just ridiculous. I mean, you look at my channel, don't really talk about the flat earth. Haven't been talking about it except when engaging with Brian. That's how when I've been actually talking about the flat earth. And here, getting back on my channel here, there probably isn't any videos on that on my other channel. I've been posting for the last, I don't know, month or so. So there's plenty of videos there and a few of them talking about the flat earth, but it's basically concerning what Brian has been saying. So it's like, this is not my religion. That's just because I defend it doesn't mean it's my religion. It's like defending 2 plus 2 equals 4. That doesn't make it my religion. I mean, 2 plus 2 equals 4 is the truth. And if you're trying to say something else and say that to other people that 2 plus 2 equals something else, well, yeah, I'm going to engage with you and be like, hey, you're leading all these people. They're looking up to you and you're leading them astray, right? I'm going to say something. And just because I say something about it doesn't mean that 2 plus 2 equaling 4 is my religion. I mean, it's kind of dismissive. And then he calls it like a flat earth cult. And I think that is so weird because he's in his video when he said flat earth cult, what he said right before that was if unless you come here to learn, I'm just gonna get rid of you. I'm gonna like disable comments on this video. I'm gonna disable comments on my other flat earth videos because there's all this contention. And don't even fellowship with these people. There's somebody who's saved and they believe it. Okay, I understand you're gonna talk to them, but all these other people who believe the flat earth, don't even bother engaging with them. And then he says the flat earthers are a cult. The reason why I find that funny is because flat earthers don't say disfellowship with people who believe the earth is a sphere. None of us are saying it's a fellowship breaker, right? Not that I know of anyway. We don't have some group. I don't meet up with other people and our focus is the flat earth, right? I meet up with other Christians and we basically don't talk about the earth in its shape, right? So to say it's a cult, it's just stupid, right? If I was defending 2 plus 2 equals 4 and a bunch of other people agreed with me, we all came to the same conclusion, realizing 2 plus 2 equals 4, looking at the evidence, and we all speak out against people who are trying to say 2 plus 2 equals 10, doesn't make us a cult just because we don't agree with you and that we're exposing what you're saying. You calling us a cult is just a way to dismiss what we're saying, right? It kind of looks like he's projecting a bit here because if you're saying don't even listen to these people, don't engage with them, it's kind of like you want to cut them off from certain information, right? You see, it's kind of like Catholics. Uh, you can sometimes hear the Catholic families like, oh, don't engage with the Jehovah's Witnesses and the Baptists and the other non-Catholics. Just don't talk about religion, and sometimes it's don't talk about politics either, right? And they don't want them or like their children or anybody else Catholic actually engaging in those conversations and maybe thinking about their own religion and questioning it, right? So they say don't do that. Me as a Christian, I don't say that. But like, go ahead, engage with the Catholic, engage with the Jehovah's Witness, engage with the Mormon, engage with the Seventh Day Adventist, engage with the Baptist, engage with the Calvinist, with the Presbyterian, right? The Methodist, engage with the Muslim, engage with the atheist. I have no fear of the lies and whatever they're going to say. None whatsoever. I'm not going to tell you not to engage with any certain group. I would say if you're getting worked up, right? Because a lot of times you talk to some people, no matter what group they're in, a lot of times they will get defensive and they'll start trolling and mocking. I would say, okay, well then, back off from them. They're not receptive, they're not respectful. Just kind of say your piece, don't get worked up, and walk away and pray for them, right? Pray some seeds got planted and get watered and get some light, right? Don't stress yourself out with people who are just flinging mud at you, right? I mean, sometimes if it's a loved one, okay, you might deal with a little bit more of their insults and their mud flinging. I get it. I wouldn't say not to engage with anybody unless you find it stressful and insulting, right? Like sometimes that happens, right? People turn into trolls pretty quick when they want to defend their beliefs and they don't want to change their beliefs. They won't engage in conversation anymore. They'll just start attacking and mocking and scoffing. All right, makes sense. Don't engage then. And I understand not fellowshipping with people like that. And at the same time, I get if they're family and friends, or if you just really got some kind of pull in you where you want to put up with their crap and keep reaching them, go ahead. Right? If God's given you the conviction and the strength to put up with them and take their verbal beating, take it. Just don't become what they are, right? Because sometimes you end up becoming what you fight against. So you got to be careful you're not spending too much time with people like that, because next thing you know, you start barking back, you start trolling back, you start mocking back, and they got you caught up and rolling in the mud with the pigs, right? I get you want to get the pig, you want to get the dog out of the mud, right? Come out of the mud. But as soon as they start drawing you into the mud, hey, that's when you know they got you. You didn't get them. And you need to back off and get cleaned up and move on, right? But outside of that, when people say, hey, don't engage with people, they're trying to control the kind of information you're receiving. That's very cultic. I'm not going to say Brian Dillinger has a cult, but that is definitely a cult tactic, right? I think you need a certain amount of traits to really be considered a cult, right? I think the main one is if you don't go to God through His Word personally, you have to go through a certain leader or certain group, certain establishment like a denomination to go to God. Okay, then you're part of a cult. Like if you can't go to God yourself, they got you convinced you have to go through them somehow. Okay. As far as I know, Brian's not doing that. I see in his videos he's talking about the Bible's a standard. Go to the Bible, right? So, yeah, kind of rambling off there. I'm going to watch the rest of his video and then end up adding to this. So, that being said, thanks for watching. Not so much take care yet. Stay tuned. Splicing some stuff in.
So that fella couldn't join the church. He couldn't join the church. He couldn't get baptized. He couldn't get baptized. He woke up with God. He woke up with the devil. Are you saved? Amen. So that fella didn't take the sacraments, didn't take the sacraments. Didn't say the rosary, didn't say the rosary. Didn't tithe, didn't tithe. He went to heaven, he went to hell. You saved? Didn't keep the law, he didn't keep the law. He broke the commandments, he broke the commandments. He didn't keep the golden rule, he didn't keep the golden rule. He woke up in glory, he woke up in the pit. Are you saved? You're saved. If you're not saved, you're over here or you're over here. You sure ain't in the middle. He said, Lord, remember me, thou comest thy kingdom. And Jesus turned to him and said, verily I say unto thee, today shalt thou be saved. Just like that. You have been saved? If you ever saved, you were saved like that.
All right. In this part of the video, I actually want to share something from Dellinger's video that you can check out on his website, kingjamesvideoministry.com. He has the link on his video descriptions, I believe, anyway. But he shows a Concorde flight from 2003 where they say they can see the curve of the Earth. And I want you to take a look at this because this looks weird. It's actually kind of interesting. They're looking out the window, and he's like, they're using a regular camera, not a GoPro. And it looks like a curve here, right? You're looking at the horizon, you look this way, curve. But if you look this way, it's flat. So if you start from this edge of the window, it's pretty flat going this way. And all of a sudden, it curves down a little bit, right? So if this is the curve of the Earth, why is it curving to the left but not to the right? And I hope this comes up clear. If this isn't coming out clear, check out his video. It's about 12:30 into his video, 12 minutes, 30 seconds. And you take a look at this. It's flat on the right, all the way to the center. Almost keep going to the left. I think it's like right around here. All of a sudden, it looks like a slight curve of the white going down to where his cursor is. And I notice that his cursor stays over here. He doesn't look at this side, right? It's kind of like a magician trying to draw your attention so that you don't see what's going on the other side. So I was really taking a look at this, and I was like, this is strange. And I kind of putting it out there. What do you think's going on here? Because one side flat, the other side a slight curve. And my guess is that it's the window. The window has like a bulge or something. It's kind of curved because he's looking at the edge and it looks flat and then it comes over to a curve. Now, what would happen if you looked through the center of the actual window and if you actually looked towards the other edge of the window? Like if you look to the left edge of the window, would it look flat and then curve to the other side? Because if it did, it would show that the window distorts the image. I'm going to just hit play to the end of his clip here. I'll just mute it just to look at this video to see if the camera moves. I don't think it does to the left or right anyway. I think it goes up and down. So you can see for yourself, and yeah, we'll take a look. Hit play. It goes up. Looks like the curve kind of disappears. Right. Like all of a sudden, there's not a curve down anymore. Like, see, he moved up the camera, and it's not curving down. Look at that straight line. Again, you're going to have to look at his video, and then maybe check out this video. It's Concorde Flight, New York to London with detailed captain's commentary, 2003, best video. And it looks like it's about 6 minutes, 19 seconds into that video. But I am going to rewind just a little bit here so I can look at that again as he's looking up, because it's flat and curves to the left, and then Then it looks just no curve. It looks actually like a slant, right? Because it's up on, like, this is the center, and it looks like it's going up very slightly and then slanted down without the curve anymore. But let's just keep looking. Yeah, that's definitely going up. Like, if this is the center and you went straight, it's going up, but to the left it's going down like a slant. That's kind of weird. That doesn't prove a curved Earth or a flat Earth. It proves something weird, and it probably has to do with the window on the Concorde. But let's keep looking, and by the time we get down here, it's almost being straight with the timeline of the YouTube video. The red white line here, it's almost lined up with it. So now it looks flat as he moves up. It's almost as if the glass is giving some kind of GoPro fisheye kind of view here. But let's continue to see if he goes to the left, and he doesn't. All right. I'm just going to watch a little bit more to see if he shows anything else from the Concorde, because this doesn't help us at all. And hopefully he's moving on to another point. All right. I'm assuming he's moving on. You can check it out to see if it shows anything else. But I thought that was interesting. But you see how the evidence he has for it to be curved is very minute, right? He has a few seconds looking at the Concorde where it's not curved on one side of the view, but it's curved on the other. And then as the camera moves, it looks like a slanted straight line. And then it looks by the end of it flat, right? So if you're really paying attention, you can tell that there's some distortion going on, probably with the window of the aircraft. But that's just my guess. So again, thanks for watching, and I'll probably splice in some other stuff. All right, I finished this video. I started to see Brian in a different light. He started to remind me of Steven Anderson. I don't know if you've listened to that guy, but he likes to play victim a lot. And that's how Brian seemed to be. Oh, I'm a victim. Everybody's attacking me, calling me a false teacher and all this stuff. And he's like, good, go, get out of here. And he was talking about, oh, I already lost 100 subscribers because of this flat Earth thing, and I hope I lose 1,000 more. I was like, why? Why? And I was like, he's getting all worked up over this, over nothing. He just started calling the flat earthers satanic. That we're all satanic, we're all sinners and sin because of this, and we need to get saved, right? And saying that we are trying to get people to look like fools so that their testimony is ruined. And yeah, I was just kind of taken back from it a little bit. I was like, you know why he's actually talking about this flat earth thing when he's losing subscribers is because he's trying to actually clot the wound and bring the people back in, because he lives off of the donations. He needs your support. So he is upset about this, that the flat earth is causing people to leave. And I don't think it's the fact that he believes that the earth is a sphere, which is funny in itself because he says he's not going to defend either side. He's not going to defend it being flat or being a sphere. And in his last video, by the end of it, he's saying, see, it's a sphere, it's not flat, right? And it's like, you're defending the sphere when you said you wasn't going to do that. So you're showing yourself to be a liar and a hypocrite, right? I mean, come on. He took out the Bible and was saying it doesn't support the earth being flat. You can't say that it's supporting your view. It doesn't support the sphere. Yet you're trying to now say it does. He's talking about how God sits on the circle of the earth and how a circle is not a sphere, right? And he was saying, yeah, but with geometry, you use circles with the sphere, right? And there's all kinds of circles to make up the sphere. And he was like, yeah, okay. That doesn't make a sphere a circle, now does it? No. And if God sits upon the circle of the earth, if it's made up of circles, plural, how is it a one circle? It doesn't make sense, right? But he's grasping at straws. That's all he's doing. So I started to see that it wasn't so much him actually believing that there's a sphere is why people were leaving, but because of things like him saying, I'm not going to defend either side, and then he attacks the flat earth and defends the sphere, you just showed yourself a liar and a hypocrite. That's going to turn people away. Not only that, but the way that you talk about the flat earthers shows your character, where you're calling us satanic and sinners. What are you talking about? Saying that the earth is flat is satanic? How is that satanic? And how is it sin? It doesn't make any sense. He's just saying these things and saying that we're fools and trying to get other Christians to look like fools by saying the earth is flat to ruin their testimony. And it's just like, get out of town. He just kept going on these different things about how flat earthers are like comparing us to a bowel movement, because he said he lost 100 subscribers, hope he lose 1,000 more. And he talked about this pastor who had a church split, and he said no, it was more of a bowel movement, right? So he's calling us, implying that we're shit leaving, right? So he's just insulting us. He doesn't think that people are leaving because of his actual character and his personality and the derogatory things that he's saying, right? Which is weird because him and his followers are upset about saying a cuss word. Like if I say, instead of bowel movement, I say shit, they're going to get worked up. And it's like, but what about him calling me a bowel movement? I didn't call anybody anything. I just said the word shit and you're upset. But he said that we're a bowel movement and you're fine with that. Like you can insult people and be disrespectful and rude and inconsiderate, unchristlike, as long as you don't say a bad word that people don't like. They're hypocrites. They really are. And let's actually get to the notes talking about his video here. And he brought up losing radar, where at the station where they send out these helicopters to oil rigs, their radar will go out about 80 miles. And the explanation that the guy gave is because the Earth is curved, and after 80 miles, they're below the curvature. They can't actually, reach them with the radar. Even though if you zoomed in with a powerful enough telescope or camera, you would be able to see them. But whatever. And the radar doesn't go, so it must be because they're below it. It's not that the radar doesn't go that far and be able to bounce back, right? It's just that it had to go under it because radar goes on for infinity. Everybody knows that. It goes on indefinitely, right? Everybody knows that. So, yeah, it had to be because they're below it. So you see the stupid things that he says. He doesn't really think it through to see if, could it be that it just doesn't go that far? Because the radar goes out, it spreads out further and further and becomes weaker and weaker, and then it has to bounce back. And then by the time it's bouncing back, that signal has really lost strength, so it's not able to bounce back. Because that's what radar does. It sends it out, bounces off an object, and comes back kind of like echolocation with a bat or a dolphin. It's able to send back the waves. But that only can go so far. It's not infinite. It goes so far, and that strength of the the echo weakens as it goes out further. And not only that does it weaken, but then when it bounces off an object, if it does, it gets weakened as it comes back. So the radar only works for 80 miles. Whoa, who would have guessed? I mean, it has to be a curve. They have to be under it. That's got to be the only reason. Right? But, yeah. He just, after the way he ended the video and like the insults and the antagonizing, and then he's saying that the flat earthers are causing the strife. It's like I was moved on until all of a sudden I got a notification for this video. I didn't unsubscribe, showing that, but I might as well because, man, he's really revealing himself. I think he's got his own little clique going on that supports him, and he's feeding off of the sheep, and he doesn't want anybody waking his sheep up. Like I was saying earlier about him saying, "Don't even talk to these people." Why? Like I wouldn't tell my group, let's say I'm the head, they looking up to me for whatever reason. Don't talk to atheists. Like if you don't want to, I understand. But if they're engaging you with something, talking about evolution, I'm not afraid of that. Talk to them about it. Talk to them about some science, whatever. You can, and then come back and we'll all discuss the things that the atheist said. I'm not worried about that. But for some reason, he's worried about his sheep talking to flat earthers and learning stuff and bringing it back to him, and he doesn't have the answers. That's what the problem is. So they might not look to him as someone worthy to look up to, especially when he doesn't have the answers. And then the way he treats the people who do have the answers. I think that's the main thing, right? The wolf is like, oh crap, I'm being exposed. And all of a sudden, wait a second, sheep don't growl like that. Oh, he's not a sheep. But anyway, um, he kept going over, I'm not getting into this, I'm not getting into this, it's a sin and all this stuff. But then he keeps coming back and getting into it. Very strange. Um, he was getting upset that, oh, you judge a preacher by this? This is stupid and all this, getting upset. And it's like, but you're judging us. You're saying that we're satanic, we're sinners, we need to get right with God, we're a bowel movement, but then you're upset that we judge you? I actually got a reply to him from one of his comments. He commented on his own video, and I told him about him judging people's salvation based on whether or not they believe in evolution or not. And he's like, you don't think I can judge somebody's salvation based on that? And I was like, oh, well, if you do, don't get mad that people judge your salvation based on whether or not you believe the flat earth or not. It's just as stupid, right? You're inconsistent and you're a hypocrite if you think, oh, if you believe in evolution, you're lost. Hey, and then somebody comes and tells you, well, if you believe there's a sphere, you're lost. Oh, you really? You're being judged by your same standard. That's what Matthew 7 says. Judge not lest you be judged, because in the same judgment you meet, you will be judged. And I think it actually says double time on that. Let's actually open that up. Let's go to that. Let's go to Matthew 7 here. Because all I did was judge him according to his own standard of judgment. I didn't use my own, I used his. And it says here in Matthew, judge not lest ye be judged, for with what judgment ye judge, ye shall be judged, and with what measure ye meet, it shall be measured to you again. So you see, if you measure, hey, you're damned if you believe evolution. Okay, well then, if you believe the earth is a sphere, you're damned. You can't do that. I'm just using your own judgment against you. You're believing something that's not biblical. You're trying to now say that the Bible claims that it's a sphere when it doesn't. It's like somebody trying to say the Bible teaches evolution when it doesn't. You're doing the same thing. He's really revealing himself. And I think he's doing that because he's dependent on donations and he's losing subscribers, and for good reason. I'm starting to see it. At first, I was like, hey, I kind of like this guy. He's kind of got a little bit of a fire to him where he's like, get saved and straighten out your life. And I was like, I like that. I was like, it seems a bit legalistic. I get why people would call him legalistic, but he's saying you're not saved by that, but it's something, you should work on. And I was like, oh, yeah, I agree with that. And then I get to see his fruit, right? That's just something I think we need to understand. It's interesting because Matthew 7 actually says, know them by their fruit, right? And it talked about judging right there. That's kind of interesting. But the fruit we actually are to look at is not some fruit that we actually see from Brian when we actually put him to the test, right? The fruit we look for is the fruit of the Spirit. Because you can't really see if somebody has the Spirit, but you can look at the fruit and get an idea, right? Maybe they just haven't started blooming yet and producing fruit, but he's been a Christian for a long time. I think longer than I have. So, verse 22 here in Galatians 5 says, but the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace. That's not something I get from him. He's very upset about this flat earth thing. It's ruining his joy, and I don't get the love from him. Not at all. Like I feel antagonized by him, where he's trying to provoke a response so that he can make me look like the bad guy if I retaliate. Like if he called me a turd and I called him crap, he would go, "Oh, look, he's calling me crap." And it's like, "What about you calling me a turd?" Right? Oh, I don't believe in evolution, right? But let's say I just wasn't convinced, right? I didn't look into all the stuff and I believed in evolution. He would say, "Oh, I'm lost." Right? "Oh, well, you believe there's a sphere, you're lost." Right? "Oh, you see what he's saying? He's saying I'm lost because of this belief that has nothing to do with Jesus on the cross." I was like, "You're doing the same thing. You're a hypocrite and full of shit." "Oh no, I said a bad word. A Christian would never say that. You're lost." I'm lost because I said shit? That's new to me. Chapter and verse? I would like to know chapter and verse on that one. Um, and then he was just saying some things about the science. I think I'm kind of going over this. The science contradicting the scriptures. Like you believe the flat earth, well, the science, you're a Catholic because you think that the science and the scriptures are separate. What are you talking about? They're not separate at all. Never said they were, never used them separate in any way, right? So I don't get where he's going with this. I mean, there's nothing in the scriptures that shows you that the earth's a sphere and that the earth is spinning, that the earth is going around the sun, and that the sun is the center, right? It doesn't, right? It gives you the depiction that the earth is the center. And it doesn't move because God sits on it, and it's his footstool. What kind of a footstool is spherical, spins, and flies around? None that I know of. So that is a very bad analogy. God should have said that the earth is his bird, his crazy bird, or his Tasmanian devil, right? It just spins, constantly spinning and flying around, right? That's what he should have made the earth like. Why would he say a footstool that he sits on? That doesn't make any sense. Then you might think it's sturdy and doesn't move. You can, of course, shake a footstool and destroy it and remake it. So to say, oh yeah, I proved that it moves. He didn't prove that it spins and then it goes around the sun. This guy's a jackass. And at first, people who were saying this stuff, I was like, you know what? He's not. Yeah, he's a little rough around the edges. But now the way he's responding to all this, nah, I don't know. I think there's something wrong with this guy. I really do. And yeah, I think that's about it for my notes. What there was one last thing he was saying, like on a flat Earth, you can't have apparently you can't have something inside of a flat Earth or under it or anything like that, right? So you can't have the heart of the Earth unless it's a ball. So again, he's defending the sphere when he said he wouldn't. You know, he says we just can't know, we just don't know, but all of a sudden he knows. I mean, these kind of things are what get people to walk away, right? If you're honest and sincere, people pick up on that and they realize, hey, you're a sheep like me. But then when you're dishonest and you're a hypocrite and you start growling, okay, this is not a sheep, right? He's feeding off of us. This is exactly what he's doing. That's what the wolves in sheep's clothing do. They want your money and your donations. That's something you got to be wary of. You know, people who are living off of you, right? Because if they're living off of you, they want to then control you. You know, the doctrines and deeds of the Nicolaitans, right? They make merchandise of you. It's what the farmer is living off of the sheep. Well, then he's going to want to make sure that he protects them and controls them, right? There's positive and negative to that. Uh, you know, you protect it from the wolf, but then you got to be watching out. Well, if the wolf is the shepherd, the one leading you, like a Judas goat, you got a problem, right? So, yeah, I didn't really get to see how he was until I saw this. Once I disagreed with him and I saw the way he responds to that, then I got to see who he really is. So watch out for this guy. Doesn't know what he's talking about, and he's very controlling, right? Like I want the rest of the sheep to be. I gotta be careful. I want to say be like me, but I don't mean follow me because I'm the example. I mean be like me in the sense where you're relying just on God and on the scriptures, and you know these things. You know the scriptures well enough, and you know the science well enough that you're not going to be worried about encountering somebody who believes something different from you. Where I don't have to tell you, oh, don't talk to those people. Don't even engage with them. Just treat them as a heathen and disfellowship with them. No, I don't have to because I rely on the Spirit of God and He gives discernment to me. He'll do the same for you. He'll protect you as well, right? And of course, we can warn one another saying, hey, I've talked to those group of people or that person in particular. I'd watch out, right? And then we can take their warning and accept it or reject it and do what we do, right? Uh, you got to watch out for people who want to control, right? Because how Peter said is that we, as the leaders, you got to be examples to the flock, right? You got to be examples and not to lord it over them. And the Lord takes control. Jesus even said this. when two of his disciples wanted to be on his left and right hand in the kingdom. He says, hey, that's not how it's going to be where you rule over people like the Gentiles, right? You're all on the same playing field here, right? And on top of that, it's what I've been bringing up, been trying to bring up in my videos is this right here about 2 Corinthians 1:24, where it says, not for that we have dominion over your faith, but are helpers of your joy, for by faith you stand. So you see, the impression I'm getting from Brian is that he wants dominion over people's faith. He wants to control you. He wants you under his thumb so that you're supporting him. It seems like he's bashing all these other pastors like Gene Kim and Robert Breaker and others. Others, I mean, some of these are rightfully so. He got some legitimate arguments. But at the same time, I don't think he's doing that to protect you from them, but to basically try to steal their flock, right? He wants to bring them into his own. And yeah, I guess that's about that. More my opinion, I suppose. But I thought I had the other picture up here. Must have accidentally deleted it. Dang, let's see if I can find that real quick. I don't know which picture it was, so I might have to do a couple of these. Let's start with this one. That's not it. Some past ones from the past videos I was recently doing. I think I accidentally clicked off of this one. I don't even know if I'll have it in my history, which is a shame because I really liked it. Looks at the wrong thing here. And last one. Dang. Yep, they're all gone. Was it this right here? Nope. That's unfortunate. It was the one where the guy was putting his hand over the face of the guy trying to read the Bible and then trying to tell him what's what. So you gotta make sure that don't happen to you. Thanks for watching. Take care.